Backcourt Press fans, what is going on? It is Hunter Mennick back with another YouTube video. I'm trying to keep up this consistent one post every single day up until January 1st. So hopefully I can stay consistent with it, and hopefully we start to gain a pretty big following by the time we hit January 1st. Thank you if you've come over from the Instagram page, obviously Backcourt Press on Instagram. If you've come over from there to support the YouTube channel, thank you very much. It means the world. I'm going to try and do this one video a day, stay consistent with it, and enjoy it along the way. Basketball starts in less than a week, the regular season. I am so excited for it. So get ready for a lot more content once the regular season starts. But today I wanted to talk about who have been the preseason standouts throughout the year and who has been really impressive and looking to make a next jump into this regular season. So today I pulled up this website here, basketball.realgm.com. It's got all the statistics from the regulars or from the preseason up to now, up to today, which is October 19th. And I'm going to be talking about some players that have stood out to me, how I think their roles might change this year, and who's ready to make that next step who's entering the league and looking really promising. First player I want to talk about a lot is Jonathan Kuminga. As a Warriors fan, I love starting out with a Warriors player. This preseason in 28 minutes, he's averaging 24 points on 53% from the field, 45.5% from three on 5.5 attempts a game. That has been something so promising because Kuminga has always been one of those drive, big body, big jumper guys, but you never really knew what his shooting capabilities were. We've been seeing him take a one dribble pull up from the mid range, hitting a lot of catch and shoot threes from, Chris Paul, Steph Curry. I've been really, really impressed with watching his development shooting over the past couple of years. 4.5 or 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists, a steal, half a block. This number right here being 4.5 turnovers a game in the preseason, it does worry me a little bit come regular season, but you also have to think we don't have Draymond Green playing. He hasn't been playing every time with Chris Paul. He's been having a lot more of a ball dominant role in the preseason to see what he can do. So I really think that come regular season, we're going to see Jonathan Kuminga playing really well off the ball and being more of a screen setter as opposed to a guy trying to create his own shot. But knowing that he has the potential to be this kind of player for the Golden State Warriors this upcoming year is huge for their championship aspirations. We need Chris Paul, Klay Thompson to be able to work this second unit and have guys like Kuminga, Moody, other guys on our bench like Trace Jackson Davis, who I'll talk about later, who they can trust as these younger guys who will work within the Warrior system and thrive. I know Kuminga has been brought up in a lot of different trade rumors over the past couple of years, obviously with the Warriors being an older team and he's on the younger side, but there's no reason to trade him, right? His value is pretty good, but look at what we got for James Wiseman. We got Gary Payton back. We kind of are figuring out which young guys are going to stay, which older guys are going to stay as well. Obviously, I see Jordan Poole's name right under here. I'll talk about him a little bit, but I really think Kuminga is going to be a big part of this Warriors future and now. And if he's putting up these stats in the preseason, he's going to have to get playing time in the postseason. Steve Kerr is going to actually have to play him and not play Moses Moody randomly and never put Kuminga on the floor in the postseason. So I think Kuminga was my personal number one preseason standout. I will talk a little bit here about Tyler Herro. I saw Bam Adebayo came out and said something about how Tyler Herro is being more efficient with the basketball in his hands. Not more efficient actually shooting the ball. He's just being more effective in less dribbles, which I think is really huge for a team like Miami. I think we saw Gabe Vincent thrive in that role in the postseason last year, where Gabe Vincent came in to be a shot creator and excelled at it because of the opportunities he was getting alongside Jimmy, alongside Bam, alongside Max Struss, who's no longer there. But Tyler Herro is going to come in. Obviously, not a lot of people thought he was going to start the year as a Miami Heat. But in his 2 games, he is shooting the ball out, right? 20.5 attempts a game. But that's not unrealistic for the regular season. Tyler Herro is going to come in and do this anyway. 43% from 3 on 7 attempts would be incredible. I'd love to see him get to the free throw line a little bit more and be aggressive. I love when the Miami Heat are slowing the pace down. It seems like that's when they play their best basketball in that half court. So I'd love to see him try and get to the free throw line a little bit more. But this is the number I'm really looking at here. 4.5 assists per game is huge for what the Miami Heat are looking to do. Obviously, they have Kyle Lowry running the full-time point guard now with Gabe Vincent. I would not be surprised if we saw a trade, the Miami Heat make a trade for a new point guard at the trade deadline or before the trade deadline for a guy, maybe like a Tyus Jones from the Wizards I could see happening. But I would love to see Tyler Herro be more of a creator and not just a bucket getter. I think it would change the entire way the Miami Heat go about the regular season, having more of a, not just a scoring guard, but almost a combo guard out of Tyler Herro and being able to play different roles. But at the end of the day, in the fourth quarter, he will be your go-to bucket getter before Jimmy Butler closes out the game. So I think with Tyler Herro healthy, not a lot of people are realizing how good this Miami Heat team can be and how good they possibly could have won it last year if Tyler Herro was healthy and they had that great shot creator next to, Jimmy playing incredible and Bam playing incredible. So we'll see how Tyler Herro plays actually in the regular season. But I think we forgot a lot about how much of an impact he can have. Some of the other names I want to talk about here, I think Domantas Sabonis, I saw he was leading the preseason rebounds, or second behind Drummond. I love it. I think Sabonis is going to have an incredible year again. I don't see the Kings slowing down too much. I just want to make sure that they obviously had the clutch player of the year last year in De'Aaron Fox. And I would love to see that fourth quarter, efficiency stick with them. And that hopefully they don't lose. Hopefully they're not the Minnesota Vikings this year, if any of you guys get that reference. Because last year they were 11-0, but they won like 8 of their one possession games. And then this year they're like 1-5 because they've lost all their close games. Hopefully that's not the case with the Sacramento Kings. But I just wanted to point out Sabonis because I just watched the game last night between them and the Warriors. And Sabonis kind of got locked up by Trayce Jackson-Davis, who I'll talk about a little bit later. Another player I want to talk about right here in the assist column, Ben Simmons is looking great throughout the first couple preseason games. I saw him passing well. I saw him playing good defense. We all know how impactful of a defender he can be. Can guard 1 through 4. We haven't seen him guard the 5 in a little bit, at least effectively. But right now I can confidently say he can guard 1 through 4. He has the foot speed. He has the body to still be one of the best defenders in the NBA. It's just if he's going to put in the effort, stay consistent, and make winning plays for the Brooklyn Nets. But I really can see it happening. I can see a Ben Simmons resurgence season this year. I'm interested to see if they run him at the 1 or they bring Spencer Dinwiddie at the 2 or they bring him off the bench. I'm interested to see what that starting lineup is in Brooklyn under Jacques Vaughn. But I just want to point out there before everyone starts talking that Ben Simmons could have a most improved player season that could lead to the Brooklyn Nets being a guaranteed playoff team by the trade deadline. And maybe they're buyers for a Karl-Anthony Towns or they're buyers for like an Anthony Simons if the Portland Trailblazers look to move on from him. I could see the Nets being one of those teams that, they make an impact. They have a really, really good year. And especially with Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson signing their extensions and everything, I love this Nets team. And I really hope that Ben Simmons works everything out. Another player I wanted to talk about a little bit more was this guy right here, averaging 21.3 points a game in just 24.7 minutes in 3 games. It's Desmond Bane of the Memphis Grizzlies. I've been seeing a lot of people underrate the Memphis Grizzlies going into this season because John Morant is missing 25 games. Do I blame that, fans? No. I think this is where Desmond Bane steps up and says, I can be the guy if they need me to be. Desmond Bane is one of the most efficient scorers we've seen in the past couple of years. Honestly, 47% from the field, but 45% from 3 on 7 attempts a game. 87% from the free throw line. You really just hope that he can do all the extra stuff, that he can play make a little bit next to Marcus Smart, that he can rebound the ball because Jaren Jackson Jr. has never really been that great of a rebounder, and Steven Adams has been missing a lot of time recently. So you really hope that Desmond Bane can bring all the extra stuff to your team that the John Morant, would normally bring with his extra couple assists and maybe a rebound or 2 in there. But I think Desmond Bane with John Morant out is going to average upwards of 27 points a game over the first 25 games. I really think he can. He's a good shot creator, good 3-level scorer, and overall plays really, really, he plays bigger than he is. And he's a really, really solid player. Moving on, as I was just talking about, Anthony Simons, I want to mention a little bit because it seems like all of Portland Trailblazers fans are like, oh, it's Scoot and Shaedon. It's Scoot and Shaedon. Anthony Simons is the best player on the Portland Trailblazers right now. I think he's a better player than DeAndre Ayton. He's a better player than Scoot Henderson. And that's mainly all the other competition that he has for the best player on his team. Anthony Simons, when Damian Lillard was out, was averaging 27 and 9. And people were saying that he was going to get traded and become a team's, point guard of the future. Dame's finally gone. Obviously, we know they brought in Scoot Henderson, who has his unique play style, but I don't see Anthony Simons taking a backseat to anyone in this offense. He has no reason to. He's the only player in this offense that has proved himself to the Portland Trailblazers. Obviously, Jeremy Grant's in there as well, but I think Anthony Simons has more of a green light than Jeremy Grant does, just because of his ability to play make and shot create, as opposed to just Jeremy Grant, who's going to be a basic 18 to 20 points a game every single game. But I could see Anthony Simons. I mean, this isn't going to keep up probably throughout the season, where he shot 61% from 3 on 6 attempts a game. But I could see a lot of teams game planning for Scoot Henderson, game planning for DeAndre Ayton, and Anthony Simons stepping in and say, you guys got a game plan for me. I am the guy here in Portland, which I would love to see. Someone else I want to talk about, I actually went to the Boston at 76ers game, and I couldn't take my eye off of Peyton Pritchard. But Peyton Pritchard just signed that extension with Boston after complaining about his role over the past couple of years, and he's been lighting it up. I mean, his 2-game with Kristaps has been looking really good. When the fourth quarter rolls around and it's all the second tier players, Peyton Pritchard just looks levels above those players. He looks like he can play off the ball. He can play with the other players in the starting lineup even, and he can implement himself as one of the top shooters in the NBA this year. And I love his off-ball presence, and I really actually do like Peyton Pritchard's demeanor. When I listen to him talk and I watch his podcasts and stuff, he's always just trying to figure out how he can improve. And even you watch his warm-up, you watch a lot of NBA players warm up pre-game, and a lot of them are kind of nonchalant, going through the motions. Peyton Pritchard is one of those guys that is never going to do that. He's always going to give it 100% on every drill he does. And those are the kind of guys that Boston's going to need if they're going to make this championship push this year. So, yeah, I love Peyton Pritchard. I think he's going to be I think he'll fit great into the Malcolm Brogdon role. He'll be a little bit more of a Jordan Poole than a Chris Paul, if you understand that analogy with the Warriors. But that's not a bad thing for Boston, because they have Drew Holiday, who plays the game smart and well. And they could kind of use one of those spark plug shot chuckers off the bench. And I think Peyton Pritchard really could be that, especially if he can average 4 to 5 assists on top of that. I would love to right now talk about Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren and all the other rookies. I'm going to stray away from that, because that's going to be its own video. So be on the lookout for me talking about the rookies and what I believe for them. I'm going to mention Trayce Jackson. Let me look him up. Jackson Davis. Nothing's showing up. Trayce. I believe that's how you spell his name, right? It's Jackson Davis. There we go. Sorry, I just spelled his name wrong. He, in his 2 games, has looked awesome for the Golden State Warriors. I'm going to scroll down to his preseason stats this year. Obviously, he started, I believe, last night. But his defensive impact, he looks like Kevon Looney out there. He really does look like a second coming of Kevon Looney. And I just wanted to highlight him a little bit. Obviously, he's probably not going to have that big of a role for the Warriors. But finding these sneaky guys is what the Miami Heat have done. And they've succeeded with so much that I think this is where, these other teams have to look at the Miami Heat and say, all right, well, how can we find these steals where they might not be the most talented player in the draft, but they're going to fit our scheme really well. And I think Trayce Jackson Davis is one of those guys that can do a really good job of it. He's kind of an older player at 23. Obviously he was picked by the Wizards and then traded right from the Wizards to Golden State. But I could see him as a player that makes a surprising impact through the regular season if one of our big men gets hurt. So, yeah, I love this page, by the way. I'm happy to be so happy to do this again and continue looking at, different kinds of players and all this good stuff and who's playing really well. I'll mention a couple more players that I wanted to talk about. One of them being Miles Turner. Miles Turner just came out and said that he wants to have an all-star season next to Tyrese Halliburton this year. And I can see it. I can see Miles Turner playing really well this year in the Indiana Pacers offense, especially since they're starting to bring in these winning players. Like Bruce Brown is a great pickup for Indiana. He brings that championship mentality, brings that kind of everything you want from a player forward. One of your forwards, especially when you have a great scorer in Tyrese, a great scorer in Benedict Mathurin, and then a great pick and roll guy and a great interior defender in Miles Turner. You kind of need someone who's going to put it all together. I think Bruce Brown's really going to do a good job of that for the Pacers. But Miles Turner should have a really good season this year, and I would not be surprised if he is in All-Star talks by the All-Star break. I'm going to keep looking through, see if there's any other names that will spark some memory for me. I'm excited for Tyrese Maxey this year and his role if James Harden does not show up for a little bit. You listen to him talk and you listen to his demeanor and what he's gone through to start his season. I just watched a clip of him on the Old Man and the Three podcast. Big shout out to them. They're awesome. And Tyrese Maxey has gone through everything. I mean, his college year was COVID, and then the bubble was his first year, and then the Ben Simmons situation, and then losing in the second round, and now the James Harden situation. He shows up every day willing to learn, wanting to get better, and I don't see that going unnoticed. I think he's going to have a really big year this year, with or without James Harden. I think he can play both on the ball and off the ball. As a Tyrese Maxey fan, I really want to see him play on the ball, and I want to watch him try and perfect this two-man game next to Harden. But we'll see. We'll see if Harden ends up playing. Obviously, we don't know too much with that. I will say Killian Hayes in his one game looked really good. I'm not trying to stay on the Killian Hayes bandwagon because I loved him coming out of college or coming out of France or into the draft, and he has disappointed me so much since then. But Cade will be healthy. Ivy will be healthy. Killian's just going to have to come in, control the pace of the game, and pass the ball. He doesn't have to do as much as he's been asked to do in the previous years. Hence why I think he's still on a team, because they know his role is going to diminish in upcoming years with Cade, and I think that Killian can still be an effective player. I would love to see Onyeka Okongwu become the starting center for the Atlanta Hawks at some point this year. I think his defensive versatility is a lot like Bam Adebayo, and he's being overshadowed by a good rebounder in Clint Capella. But I think Onyeka Okongwu can do everything Clint Capella does, just a little bit better. Obviously, he's a little undersized at 6'9". That's the biggest issue you'd have with starting Onyeka, especially since you're already starting an undersized 4 in Saddiq Bey. Most likely DeAndre Hunter, they'll probably run the 4 position. But I'd love to see Onyeka Okongwu be able to show who he can be on the defensive side of the ball, especially. Last player, I'll talk about 2 more players. One, Kobe White. A lot of Bulls fans are hoping that he can bring this efficiency right here, 58% from the field, 40% from 3 into the regular season, and finally make a jump. We've been waiting for Kobe White to average, actually break out. Maybe this can be the year. And Malik Beasley is the last guy I want to talk about. 42% from 3 on 8 attempts a game. He's going to get open looks in this Milwaukee Bucks offense. It seems like he's going to be the starting shooting guard, which does surprise me. I thought they'd roll with Pat Connaughton, who they've had on the roster for a while, but it looks like Malik Beasley is taking that job. And I love how he mentioned he's going to be the guy to guard the opposing team's best guard, or even possibly forward. He knows that he's going to have to take the pressure off on the defensive side of the ball, off Damian Lillard, off of Chris Middleton, and really stick to it on the defensive end. He just has to put in the effort, and he can't do it. So I'm really excited to see what Malik Beasley does in this Milwaukee Bucks offense. I feel like I could sit here and do this for hours and just go through players and talk about their situations and how they played in the preseason. I will leave it off there. Really fun. These are some of the preseason standouts I noticed. Please feel free in the comment section to mention any players that you feel as though played really well in the preseason and are going to have a huge impact to their team this year. But with that said, thank you guys for watching. I love filming these videos. I love just being able to sit down and talk basketball for 15 to 20 minutes every single day. So please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50 subscribers by the end of October. Funny goal, but we got to start somewhere, right? So thank you guys. Hit me up on Backcourt Press DMs if you want to see any specific content. I'd love to do some content, with any of you guys, with my co-host Zach. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.